This video I'm going to give you an overview of chapter 2. We'll see how well we do. If we do well enough, if I'm quick enough without rushing, then I'll bounce into chapter 3. So remember in chapter 1, an important point, or some important points to remember, is that chapter 1 is the first angel's message on an experiential level. First angel's message found in Revelation chapter 14. And also what God is trying to show Nebuchadnezzar is that he can't trust certain things. He trusted in what he ate and drank, and God used Daniel and his friends to show that the food that he put his trust in wasn't trustworthy. And we're seeing the same pattern in chapter 2. God is going to show Nebuchadnezzar that he can't trust in certain things, but in this case in certain people. We're also going to see the second angel's message experientially. Remember, the second angel's message is Babylon is fallen, is fallen. And in chapter 2, you've got to highlight, you've got insight into rather the fact that Babylon falls, in the sense that you've got an image that represents the rise and fall of different empires, and one of those empires is Babylon, which falls, and ultimately in the statue, if you want to call it that, you've got the fall of literal Babylon as well as the fall of spiritual Babylon at the end of time. So you've got a depiction of the fall of Babylon, a twofold fall of Babylon, literal and spiritual, in the vision that was given to Nebuchadnezzar. Let's go into the narrative a little. It's 3 years after chapter 1. Daniel has completed his wise man training. And one thing to glean from chapter 1 that's important to carry over into chapter 2 is the fact that Daniel is blessed because of his faithfulness with a talent. He and his 3 friends are blessed with talents, but the talent that Daniel has is very significant when it comes to chapter 2. He's given the ability to understand all dreams and visions, and it's no coincidence that in chapter 2 Nebuchadnezzar has a dream in which he sees a vision, but he forgets the dream, and there's no way he can understand the vision, obviously. So Daniel has an opportunity to use the spiritual gift given to him because of his faithfulness, and we're all given spiritual gifts, and we need to use discernment, as did Daniel, to recognise opportunities to use those gifts, because we need to use those gifts based upon the parable of the talents given to us in Matthew 25. You'll see there that a land owner or a rich man went away for a while, distributed to 3 of his servants talents. I think 1 5, another 2, and the third one he gave 1. The one with 5 did well, doubled his talents. The one with 2, he did the same, doubled his talents. But the one with 1 talent, the guy with 1 talent, he did nothing, he buried it, and he ultimately lost it. So we need to use our talents or lose our talents. That's the choice. So basically, Nebuchadnezzar, he calls who he trusts. He calls the wise men. And remember, God is in the business of showing Nebuchadnezzar, showing us, showing all people, the things, revealing the things that we trust in that aren't him, basically. He, Nebuchadnezzar, after a night of sleeplessness, he calls the wise men. They come along. They aren't able to help him. They're asking him to tell them the dream. He can't. And they kind of, I suppose you could say, challenge him by saying, look, no king has ever asked any wise man or Chaldean any such thing, so, how dare you? Nebuchadnezzar is angry. He realises that they've been lying to him all these years, and so he says, I'm going to kill all the wise men, and he commissioned, I think it's Ashpenaz, to go out and kill all the wise men, of which Daniel and his 3 friends are a number, or a part of. It's Arioch, not Ashpenaz, it's Arioch. Arioch gets to Daniel's house, which is fortunate for, or a blessing to the other wise men, because he goes to Daniel first, so their lives are spared because of what Daniel does, or rather what God does through Daniel. Daniel asks Arioch to describe the situation to him. He does so. Daniel goes to the king and asks for time, and tells the king that there's a God in heaven who is a revealer of secrets, and he will tell the dream to the king, and not only the dream, the content, but the meaning. And Daniel goes away and he prays with his friends. God does answer his prayer, and Daniel comes back the following day and helps out the king, tells him about the vision, which we know is a metal man, different metals going down from gold, silver to brass to iron, and then iron and clay. The image is destroyed by a stone that is cut out from a mountain without hands, and ultimately it culminates with the setting up of God's everlasting kingdom. And that statue represents in symbols the rise and fall of empires from the time of literal Babylon right through to the time of spiritual Babylon at the end of the world. God intervenes, Jesus comes again, and spiritual Babylon will fall. Now there's a key verse, I think it's verse 30, which basically gives us the moral purpose of Bible prophecy, and that is that Nebuchadnezzar is told by Daniel that this thing is revealed to you, not to make Daniel look good, but basically that Nebuchadnezzar might know, that Nebuchadnezzar might realize by the grace of God the condition of his heart, because we all have a heart problem. Jeremiah 17 and verse 9 tells us that our hearts are desperately wicked and deceitful above all things. Psalm 51 and verse 10, David understands the way of salvation, and he says to God, he requests of God to create him a clean heart and renew a right spirit within him. So it's all about what's on the inside, and God is trying to show Nebuchadnezzar what's on his inside, if that makes sense. He's trying to show Nebuchadnezzar that you can trust in me. That is, Nebuchadnezzar can trust in God. Nebuchadnezzar is impressed, and ultimately God's intervention saves the wise men. And at the end of the chapter, the second chapter, Nebuchadnezzar is convicted. He gives a lot of credit to the God of Daniel, but he doesn't accept. There's conviction there, but there's not conversion. So to summarise very quickly, I'm going to have to do chapter 3 in another video. So it may be that I'll do 10 videos, each video looking at each of the chapters that precede chapter 11. In summary, chapter 2 is the second angel's message experientially, on an experiential level. Chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar is shown that you can't trust in your wise men, so you need to put them away. And there are a number of other things that I hope you've gleaned from what I've shared. I'm going to end it there because I didn't want to go into too much detail, but it's difficult not to, because there's a wealth of information, lots of nuggets of truth in the different chapters, or all of the chapters in Daniel. So I'm hoping that you've been blessed by what I've shared. Please go into the chapter yourself, study it through, not just chapters 1 and 2, but right through to the end, chapter 12. And I know you will be blessed. I've been blessed abundantly, having studied these chapters for the years that I've been studying them. And I'll end it there because I've got a tendency to ramble. So please pray for me as I pray for you all, and God bless.